in our essential local services. And I say that having a daughter who did only a year ago her NVQ at the college, and it was a college next door, and it's been a great institution over the years. And I'm really proud of the way in which our union is standing, not just in Barnet, but throughout the country, against what this coalition is doing, against the cuts that aren't needed, against an ideology which says that privatisation is better than providing public services, and standing up for our communities, not just for ourselves, standing up for the services that we provide. And I think we can be really proud of our branch activists who have been at the forefront of that struggle in Barnet. And I'm here to actually show my support, not just for what you're doing, but also for our branch activists as well, who I think have been great throughout this dispute. And I really would like to thank them on behalf of everybody in this room. And the people that I really did come here as well to talk to are the people who have had the guts to actually vote yes in a ballot to take action to defend our services. Those people in our regulatory services who really do demand our support, not just of the branch, but I'm here to make it clear to this council that they've got the support of our region. Our regional officer is here today, and they've got the support of our national union. And it's not just me here, we also have our Assistant General Secretary as well to show the support to our people who are moving into strife to protect what is so important to them. And I think really, as a union, the way in which we are standing up for public services and the way in which we will take on this government shows that you're not alone in this branch. We want to make it clear that this is a united union, and throughout the country we have branches taking on this cuts agenda, a cuts agenda that should never have been started in the first place. And everyone standing shoulder to shoulder, and in this council saying very, very strongly to the council, all of the workforce saying that this council needs to listen to its workforce. And this council needs to listen to logic, it needs to listen to reason, and the council needs to listen to its residents, because what they're doing will destroy public service rather than take it forward. And we talk about the ugly scenes outside of Hendon Town Hall last week, and John has already mentioned it, but that was nothing to do with our members, it was nothing to do with the residents. It was the council's decision, a provocative act, to hire a private security firm to heavy-hand any of those people who dare to make a stand. And they can call in as many bouncers as they want, and they can use all the bully boy tactics that they want, but they can bolt all the room doors and do everything in private. But I'm telling you this, we will not go away. And we will make a stand against what is so wrong, not just in Barnet, but in many Tory and Liberal Democrat councils throughout the land. And this council and this government, this coalition, taking a hatchet to our public services, to everything that is so good, how we look after communities, how we look after the vulnerable in our society, how we care for children, the elderly, the frail, people in need. These are what our council services are about, and they bring about a civilised society where people, whether they're poor or they're wealthy, can live in dignity and with respect. And that is at the heart of everything that we're doing. But this council is taking a reckless gamble with everything that we in this room hold dear. And they're dancing merrily to Pickle's tune, the Secretary of State, who has decreed that not only will there be cuts over 4 years in local government, 30% of expenditure to be cut, 600,000 jobs to go from local government throughout the country. Not only are they doing that, but they're actually destroying lives and destroying communities. And in this council, 2,000 people to be privatised. Over 300 have already got their redundancy notices, many more to follow. And we say very, very strongly as a union that this must stop. And up and down the country, we will take on councils who force this privatisation through, handing our services, handing taxpayers' money over to multinational companies and making people redundant. And every compulsory redundancy is a tragedy in somebody's household. In Westminster, it's another figure. We're talking hundreds of thousands. But we know the tragedy that it causes in people's households. And we will make a stand against what is happening. And we will take on this government. And we will stand up for those people who are being made redundant. And we will stand up for those people who are losing their public service jobs as these big companies, mainly from America, take over our services. And these companies, what are they doing? They're declaring war, not just on the workforce. You know, the government has already taken away the two-tier workforce agreement to protect our low-paid workers. They've already sent out today a consultation document on fair deal on pensions, whereby we had an agreement that anybody transferred into the private sector could take their pension scheme with them. They even want to end that so that people not only lose their public service job, they can go into the private sector and lose their pension entitlements. And this cannot be allowed to happen. And at the same time they're doing that, councils throughout the country like Barnet are spending millions and millions of pounds on consultants. And the consultants are coming in, they're saying what needs to be done, mainly bringing privatisation, mainly bringing outside companies, and then they bid for the work. And they take the profit. And they take the profit on 20-year contracts. And it's just moving money from the taxpayer out into these big companies who pay in many respects poverty wages. It's inefficient, it doesn't make sense, and it does not improve our public services. And we will make a stand against what this government is intending to do. And they hide what they're doing through a populist agenda. It's all about local democracy. It's all about giving the person in the street a bigger say. It's a nonsense. It isn't. It's undermining local democracy. It's undermining the role of the council to provide services. The council just becomes an enabler. It rubber stamps contracts and let other people who are not transparent, who've got no accountability, who hold nothing for the local population, to provide a service at a cost. And who pays? It's the local community that pays. And it's the people who cannot afford the services who pay. And it's the workers who have built up the services. They're the people who pay for what is going on. And it's a crude and it's a blatant way to divide workers from residents themselves. In this council, there is no doubt whatsoever that this is the flagship of the Tory government. And we do have a Tory government. Liberal Democrats following in their coattails, breaking all the promises that they made in the election. And we've got a more right-wing government than I have ever known before in all my time with this union. And it's going far further than Thatcher ever did, where it wants to denude itself of any responsibility for our local government services. And we have got to start the fight back, not just in this council, but across the country. And on the 26th of March, we've organised a massive demonstration in London. And I'm inviting you all to be there with me at that demonstration. It's a TUC demonstration, all of the unions, community groups, all invited. But it will be a sea of purple and green and white, the unison colours. Over 350 coaches have already been hired by Unison. Over 10 trains have already been chartered. And you'll be there in London on the 26th of March, because that's when we're going to show Cameron and all his cronies what the big society really looks like. And that's when we start our opposition in the streets to what's going on behind closed doors in our councils, and in our hospitals, and in our police stations. And it's by working together, and we're not going to win every battle, but it's by working together and being strong and realising why we're in a union. It's about the collective, it's about the strength in numbers. It's been part of that decision making that stands up shoulder to shoulder at every level in our union, that we can change the course of this government. We've got the May elections coming up in most of the country, and we want them wiped out in those elections. But we want to go further than that. We want to show them that what they're about is opposed by the people of this country. And they still believe that they can get away with it. They still believe that we haven't been noticing what's been happening to bank profits, that we haven't been noticing what's been happening to bonuses. And you just have to look and see people like Bob Diamond, the new chief executive of Barclays. And he says, every night, and this is a quote from him, every night when I go to bed with a smile on my face. Yeah. Well, no wonder, £12 million bonus. Our members don't go to bed with a smile on their face. They're worried when they wake up the next morning whether or not they've got a job. And that's the unfairness in what's happening, and that's what we've got to challenge, and that's what we've got to get over to the electorate, that what is happening is completely unfair. The rich, the super rich in our society, they're enjoying the spoils. They're enjoying the way of life that is beyond the dreams of anybody in this room. And yet they're from on high are saying that we've got to pay the price. Public service workers have got to pay the price of their excess. Public service workers have got to deal with the deficit that they created. And we do say that there is an alternative. For a start, you could cancel Trident until it stops spending money on nuclear weapons. We could tax the rich. We could tax the rich instead of all the tax evasion that's going on. Barclays again announced their profits. Should have paid 20% in corporation tax, paid 2%. Where did the money go? Out of the country. And again, everywhere you look, there is tax evasion by the rich. Everybody in this room pays the taxes every week of the year. You have no choice, it's taken away from them. They make it into an art form that they do not pay. The money is available. If we tax their profits, if we tax their bonuses, then none of the jobs in this council need go. It's as simple as that. And if we move forward and we look again about, well, how do you get that fairer society? If we just taxed 0.25% on major financial transactions, we call it the Robin Hood tax. If we just taxed 0.25% on major financial transactions, that would bring in £20 billion, and that would deal with half of the deficit. And these are the issues that we've got to take back into the country. Make people aware that we're not just looking after our own jobs, that what is happening is totally unfair. And I feel like I'm speaking here as a harbinger of bad news. It's not. It really isn't bad news. It's about how trade unions came into being, why we came into being. We came into being to look after people like you against capitalist onslaught, and that is what we are going through now. And the way in which we can stop it is by standing up and being counted like this branch is doing, like the branch officers are doing, and the people of this branch are doing as well. And we, in doing that, have got to realise that we're representing 1.3 million public service workers like yourselves across the country, meeting in workplaces, meeting in the evening, out in towns, in cities, demonstrating against what's going on. And they will make a stand, and you will make a stand. And we will be, I believe, coming to the biggest test that we will ever have for a generation. Now, we're talking about job losses, we're talking about privatisation, we're talking about pay freeze. In local government, a 4-year pay freeze. In the last 2 years, you've had a 1% increase. In the next 2 years, this government is saying no increase whatsoever for local government workers. And even what they said in their budget, their own budget, that anybody earning less than $20,000 a year would receive a £250 increase, the local government employers have refused to pay it. That's what they think of us. That's what we're going through in local government. And on top of that, I've just come from talks with the government, with the Cabinet Office, Francis Maud, and also with the Treasury in the form of Danny Alexander. And it's nice to be back here among friends. But do you know what they want to do? They want to increase your pension contributions by 50%. They want to raise them from 6% to at least 9%. Well, we'll give a little bit of protection for the lowest paid, but because salaries are so low in local government, the extra will be borne by people in professions and the higher paid, and their pension contribution could go up to 70, 80% more than they're paid now. And if they can't get away with that, what the local government employers are talking about is reducing the benefits. And then when you do get your pension, they've decided that no longer will you get your uprating every year in line with the retail price index. They've got a little twist. You'll now get it in line with the consumer price index, which means that each year after you get your pension goes down by 1 or 2% in value. After 10 years, it's 10% worse than it was when you started. All of these changes they're bringing in. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll have the Hutton Commission, a Labour minister working for the Tories on a commission to reduce our pension schemes and change them. And we've got to face that. And all of the public service unions are coming together, teachers, civil servants, health workers, local government workers, saying we will oppose these changes. Now, it may happen in a few months, it may happen in a year, but at some point, I actually believe that we will move to serious industrial action, national industrial action, against the attacks on our public service pension schemes. We cannot allow ourselves to be the last generation of public service workers to get a decent pension. We're not well paid, we're reasonably paid, but all of us pay into a pension scheme, and we expect those contracts, those commitments to be honoured. So what I want to say more than anything is that we recognise the issues, we recognise the crisis that we're going through, but if we can get meetings like they are here today, you go back into your workplace, talk about the issues, you have strength in your union. You've got strength in your union in this branch, you've got strength in your union in the region, you've got strength in the union from national level. And I'll be here with you throughout the disputes that you're now entering into. You've got my full support and of the whole union. And we'll be with you until we can make this council or the electorate see sense. And I think that is the only way forward for us. It's not just to hang our heads down and say, what can we do? It's to actually stand proud and move forward as a union and say, we'll take you on. And that is what you're doing, and I'm so proud of you. And I want to thank you for everything that you are doing, both within this branch, for the workers in this local authority, and for public service in general. It's worth fighting for. And if we don't make a stand, nobody else will. And it'll be the vulnerable in our communities, it'll be the poor in our communities who will pay the price. And that simply is not wrong. What we've got to do is make the banks, the bankers and the rich in our society pay the price. And what will happen in 3 years when all the jobs have gone, when they've privatised everything, they'll then sell off the Royal Bank of Scotland, they'll then sell off Lloyds Bank, they'll get £20 billion for it, which they could have now, so we don't have to deal with the deficit. They could have that now. They will sell it off a year before an election and come forward with tax handouts and say, haven't we done a good job? And we've got to make sure they don't get the opportunity to say that. So it's important that we fight now, it's important that we fight next year, and it's important that we fight all the way through to the next election when we can kick these people out and back on the streets where they belong. So thank you for inviting me. I really am proud to be here with you, and I will be with you all the way through as well. That's my commitment to you. Thank you very much.